So you have misconceptions, right? You already talked about the minority part, feeling like a minority in the church atmosphere as a Reformed Christian. You talked about being misunderstood in that atmosphere. Now, what are some misconceptions that you feel that are out there when it comes to Reformed theology and being a Reformed Christian? I will say this while you're thinking about that is that I was listening to Jeff Durbin.
All right.
And he was like, man, it's funny because Arminians say that they're free will and they're so for free will, but their prayers say otherwise.
Right.
Like,
so, yeah, that's another one that we're not about prayer. I think that's out there, too. Why pray if God is sovereign? You know, whatever. It's like people think that our prayers are meaningless now that we're Reformed.
Right.
But as Reformed, I found them more meaningful.
Absolutely.
You know, because now all my trust is in God's sovereign hand.
Mm-hmm.
So I know God can change somebody's heart, for instance. So I pray for someone to get saved as someone who's Reformed.
See, it's funny that you mentioned that because of Jeff Durbin when he said Arminians say they're so for free will, but their prayers say otherwise. When he said that, he'd be like, you know, you'll hear them praying, God, just change their heart. I just pray that you would change their heart, change their minds, change their lives, enter in and take over.
Right. Right.
Where's that free will that you were so adamant about?
Right.
Now you're praying for God to enter their lives and change their hearts on his own because you know that they won't want him without him.
That's what the scriptures say.
It does.
And that's the other thing, you know, like as being Reformed, as someone who's a doctrines of grace driven, you know, believer.
Yeah.
I have to tether what I do with the word, man. It's his inspired word. And I think that's another misconception that people have, that I think they have, is that they believe that we're not about the spirit of God. Oh, you're a word person. You're not a spirit person. You're not led by the spirit. You're all about the law, all about the word, all about the letter. It's like, yo, the spirit and the word aren't in contradiction.
No.
You know what I'm saying? That wasn't even Paul's whole argument. He was talking about the Old Testament requirements.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not about that anymore. We're about, of course, you know, grace, you know? So I think there's a lot more misconceptions, I think, that people have. Like, maybe another one is, you know, that we don't like to, you know, celebrate in church. That we have to be so liturgical and boring at church. Christ Alone Fellowship,
dry
like that,
worship.
Yo. Nah, we're not like that. We
dry
celebrate.
Worship, yo. I hear that all the time.
Yeah, it's in our values, man. We believe in lifting your hands, you know, and rejoicing in Christ. You know what I'm saying? And being celebratory is in one of our values. We're Reformed, you know. We love the Lord and we want to celebrate Christ and worshiping Him, and so yeah, man. There's so many more that I think people place on us that I think is unfair.
Yeah.
You know?
Davina said yesterday, and I thought this was cool. She said, what about the blackest of the black sheep? And what she meant by that, and no, she didn't say that, but I said that.
Right.
It wouldn't sound right from Davina because she's white. But we feel like that's it. That's an insider right there. So Davina goes to our church, y'all. I'm not poking
She's
fun
white?
at her. Yeah,
What?
she's white. So we're the blackest of the black sheep, meaning like even within the black sheep, like we say as Reformed Christians, you know, we may feel like the black sheep of God's flock, right? But then there's the blackest of the black sheep, meaning like there's ones that don't even fit in with the black sheep. Right. There's Reformed people that can't say that they had two parents in the household growing up. There's ones that will say, no, I never was catechized as a child. I never even heard about the gospel until I was like at least 25. You know what I mean? Like not growing up in that environment, not being
culturally reformed.
Yeah. That's a good way to say it. Yeah. And there's a bunch of us like that are reformed, and we all had kids way before marriage. Yeah. And like some of us had kids when we were like in high school.
Some
like
of
me.
us were on welfare growing up.
Right, welfare.
Projects, you know.
No, wait. There's Reformed people still on welfare. So hold up. We're not gonna skip those ones.
Right.
We're not gonna skip those ones, man. Like those are the ones that would feel as if they don't fit in, even with the black sheep.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a whole nother convo within itself. But I thought that was a good point that Davina brought up yesterday.
That's a good point, man.